Hello! Welcome to my channel and another video about my past life in the evangelical world and its traumas. Okay, I have touched briefly on the subject of Messianic Judaism, which is not Judaism at all, and a couple other posts, but there's this other side of this issue that I need to talk about. Okay, again, to review, Messianic Judaism, which is not Judaism, is a part of the evangelical church. And you will see different flavors of it that match different factions of the evangelical church. So you'll find more Baptist-y kinds, more charismatic kinds, so on and so forth. This is the church, but as I've mentioned before, it gets a lot of extra notoriety, has some more funding going through it because of the fact that it calls itself Judaism. So the rest of the evangelical church, unfortunately, some of it tends to believe this myth and goes to the Messianic Jewish community to try to understand actual Judaism so that they can get feedback from good little Jews, supposedly, who do believe in their Jesus and try to understand why all the rest of the Jews just haven't gotten on board yet these 2,000 years later. Okay, this, again, this is a myth. This is fake. This is not Judaism at all, but there are factions of the Messianic Jewish Christian cult that go so far as to wear completely ultra-Orthodox attire and try to sneak into ultra-Orthodox communities. Okay. And some no, they're not synagogues, churches pretending to be synagogues that, again, they will put on this full-blown everything. Okay. Now there's some that are more Messianic Jewish light that are just maybe more Baptist-y and maybe, I don't know, maybe their pastor puts on a talit, which is a Jewish prayer shawl, and maybe he puts on a yarmulke. And okay, very often a leader in this congregation is a Jewish person who became a Christian. Very often his wife is just a regular Baptist girl from somewhere. And most of the rest of everybody in the congregation is, again, from some church. They found their way here. So there's a few token Jews in this movement, and unfortunately it's kind of gained quite a bit of influence. So there's more and more individuals who come from the Jewish community who have been siphoned off into this very deceptive, destructive lie. Now, so remember what I said, with this fake Jewish movement within the church, like I said, the church can then go to this and be like, oh, well, come on. Obviously, this makes sense. Look, all these Jews believe in Jesus. I mean, come on, get with the program. And here's what happens within these Messianic Jewish communities. They will study the Talmud and all the Jewish rituals and whatever, but they're not using it to function as a part of the regular Jewish world the way that an actual Jewish community would. They are just step by step, literally trying to reinterpret everything so that it fits their Christian dogma. And somehow, because they're deciding to keep more archaic Old Testament Torah parts of Jewish tradition that they find in their Bible, they are making the argument that you can be a Christian and still keep the Torah. The Torah doesn't say anything about this Jesus guy, okay? It doesn't say anything about it. You can finesse. You can massage this. Oh, yeah, totally. The church has been doing this for 2,000 years already. This is nothing new. It's just the latest iteration of the same thing, okay? Rome created the gospel. It's a Roman thing. These are highly literate Greek satiric texts containing parodies that no Judean peasant or Galilean peasant in the first century is going to write or dictate. Okay, this is sponsored by Rome. It demonizes the Jews. I want you to think about this for a second. Imagine if in this context, someone was writing and publishing the good news that the kingdom of God was here in our midst, as enemy soldiers were trampling through our streets, taxing us to death, hauling off our children, beating them in the street, crucifying people. I mean, give to the IRS what belongs to the IRS. I don't know. It would be a foreign IRS, I guess. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's. It is, if you look at the context, it is so obviously bizarre that anyone would take this literally and think that this was genuinely a message of hope and freedom and deliverance in the first century. But we're not going to see that context, because instead the Christian world goes back and they try to find some Jewish stuff that they can slap onto the same Roman propaganda. And supposedly if you add a yarmulke and a tallit and a shofar and Hebrew, suddenly that makes this message legit and the Jewish world should just accept it. Okay, I was fully a part of this. I've admitted this already before. I was in this movement. I did not have bad intentions. I know most people who are in this do not have bad intentions. They're simply deluded, okay? The Christians don't know who the Jews are. In fact, they don't want to, because they depend on having some sort of superficial two-dimensional character that they can always demonize as the rebel in their story. That's how it fits in this dysfunctional family, okay? They have to have that caricature in order for their whole message to work. The moment an actual Jewish person stands in front of them and doesn't match that and won't accept their story, they can't even comprehend that. It doesn't even fit. There's no place to put that in them. So even the relationship to Israel, it's not like relating to it as an actual country in the context of all of the bigotry that the church itself has spread around the world and poisoned the world with, including the secular world. This is why Islam is poisoned with that bigotry. It's the offspring of the Roman church, and the same thing with the secular world. While I'm saying, some people leave the fundamentalist movement, they become atheist, and they think that because they were evangelicals supporting Israel, now they go full-blown the other side and they're joining these pro-Palestinian protests. Now, obviously we don't want people on either side to suffer and die, but the complete and total naivety, fully stained by anti-Semitism, comes from the church, and it infects the entire secular world. And the reality is that these very same new atheists that left the fundamentalist world were never supporting Israel in the first place. They never were. They only thought they were because they believed if they could bless Israel, they would be blessed. If they could give enough stuff over there, maybe these Jews would finally accept Jesus so that Jesus can come back. See, it's manipulative, it's coercive, it's delusional, and yet I know that so many people have a kind heart that are doing this. They're just completely ignorant and again, poisoned by this ancient Roman gospel. I was one of them. Now, a lot of people, as I've mentioned before, who are on the spectrum are attracted to this movement. You have an opportunity suddenly to research, to learn, to study another language. So many people who are misfits already in their religious community look to this opportunity as the chance to finally fit in. It's like, maybe I'm actually Jewish. Maybe that's why I don't fit in the regular church world. And yes, there are people who discover their grandparent, their great-grandparent was Jewish, just like I did. But that doesn't mean anything in the way that the church thinks that it means, okay? the church has developed the notion that it's like this magic bloodline. Look, I want you to understand, in America, your child, if you're a U.S. citizen, your child that might be born to you is a U.S. citizen. Okay, so in some sense it's through your bloodline, but this is your citizenship, right? And even if you were overseas, traveling somewhere and gave birth to a child, I mean, you might have a little hassle getting things processed, but that child is a U.S. citizen. Okay, so what we're talking about when we talk about Jewish ancestry in the Jewish world is citizenship in the Jewish world. It doesn't, because it's a religious nation, we tend to frame it around the church's language about conversion and belief. And of course, all of the satiric, cruel statements of Apostle Paul. Yeah. So again, this causes so many crazy things to happen. Like they'll be doing like films like The Chosen or just other series where they're trying to like really put Jesus in his context, really prove this is the Jewish Messiah. And it'd be like, this is not even the perfect comparison. It'd be like if somebody satirized all the people who maybe got lynched during the Civil War and Reconstruction era, boiled them down to one caricature, and then had that caricature willingly going to their self-sacrifice as a way to redeem everyone else in their tribe and the world. Yeah, this is awful. Oh my gosh. You think about it, it is so awful. But the church doesn't see it like that. And neither does the Jewish world, actually, because I mean, if you're in the Jewish world, you're not going to be really exposed to this per se necessarily. And probably haven't even thought about this in the context of how much bigotry and propaganda Rome has spewed forth to last unto this day. So anyway, I'm a bit more animated in this video, as you can tell. Hope you have a fantastic day, though.